Hey, hello everyone, a very, very good Friday. I am here together with my colleague Greg Ryall of Canada, and we're talking about Canada because there is a lot happening in Canada, isn't it, Greg?
Yeah, good morning, Emil. Nice to see you. And greetings. It's the last day of, or the first day of spring, and I'm speaking to you from our nation's capital, Ottawa, Ontario. And it's snowing out there. It's still looking like it's winter, but yeah, there is an awful lot going here in Canada. I've just recently gone across the country, started in British Columbia a few weeks ago, and
Mm-hmm.
here in the nation's capital. And I'm hearing a consistent theme from a lot of our clients.
All right, and tell us more about the theme you're hearing.
Yeah, it's one of these topics that really a year ago wasn't on anybody's radar, but digital sovereignty is front and center.
Hmm.
And this is why I was glad to have a conversation with you because we're certainly watching what Europe is doing, and there's a lot of focus on what the Europeans are doing to address it. But Canada's one of these G8 countries that's in a unique situation.
Yeah.
We're halfway between Europe. We've got Greenland, which has been in the news. And our neighbor to the south, Canada is exploring the topic of data sovereignties in ways that we haven't addressed or been forced to even look at.
Yeah.
And literally going across the country, the boardrooms of Canada, we're seeing the data and digital sovereignty is a very important topic. And, our senior leadership is asking, what does this mean? And are we prepared for it? So
Yeah.
that's why Canada wanted to reach out to yourself and your team
Yeah.
to see what we can leverage. That Europe is maybe a bit further ahead from us on. Yeah, it's a topic everyone's talking about.
It's a big topic, okay. And I'm curious then, because the term digital sovereignty is being interpreted in different ways in different parts of the world. How would you say is the boardroom talk about digital sovereignty in Canada?
Well, I guess the unique lens that we're looking at it is that have the approach that we've been of where our data is residing and do we have choices
Yeah.
on our roadmap that would allow Canadian organizations, this is from public sector governments, but also, of course, leading private sector companies as well,
Mm-hmm.
is that they're asking, is there a risk?
Yeah.
Look at you just can't turn on the news anywhere to see how geopolitical activity is putting new pressures on security and digital sovereignty. Is your data, where is your data? Is it protected? And if need be, um, can other entities get access to that data?
Yeah.
And so I think it's really just been driven, Emil, by the headlines that we see in the news. And everything from where there's a data in the cloud, what is that cloud? How do we become more independent, and how do we ensure that Canadian companies can have the choice and independence moving forward? Because the world is rapidly changing. So we're excited to see what you're doing, and I think that starting with assessments on is there risk, and
Yeah.
then I think SUSE has got a really strong story to tell in terms of how we are fiercely committed to open source and fiercely committed to not locking in. If a customer wants to have their data and applications moving from platform to platform and geography to geography,
Mm-hmm.
we're committed that they're not going to get locked in.
Yeah.
And so I think it's an exciting time. It's a really broad topic. And so, I think when we spoke last week, we were reaching out. This is a great way in which SUSE is a global company. I think some of the things that Europe is doing are very applicable to here in Canada. Could you share about what your mandate is as the ambassador and how you might be able to help us?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm really thankful for getting in contact with you, and I'm really looking forward to hear more about the specific Canadian situation. Um, it's a Friday Ketchup, so we were also listening to music, and the music you chose is "Music at Work" by Tragically Hip.
Yes.
Why?
Well, they're an iconic band, and you know what? They're so quintessentially Canadian. and that the success that they've had here in Canada, they're an iconic band, and
Yeah.
I think they're well known in Europe. And
Yeah.
interestingly, they're not as well known in the United States.
Oh.
But they sing about the uniqueness of being Canadian, from towns and places and stories that are truly Canadian. They certainly are aware of the reality of living beside our great neighbor, very powerful neighbor. You know, it's unique when you are share a border with the United States.
Yeah.
And a lot of their music talks about what it is to be Canadian, and acknowledges, they have one line, some of their songs, they directly speak to the reality of living beside the United States. And I think digital sovereignty is extremely pertinent to that, right?
Yeah.
A lot of our key leading technology globally are in the United States. And so we need to work with them, but how do we work with them in a way that achieves Canadian digital sovereignty as well?
Yeah.
And this is being spurred by as well things like tariffs. The world is a very different place these days, and so how do we mitigate this risk? I think SUSE has got a lot of solutions. So, working together with you and harnessing our marketing, I think what we want to do is share out to the Canadian clients of what we can do, and I really look forward to replicating the Digital Sovereignty Summit that SUSE is doing in April next month in Europe. I think that could be very pertinent. So, so what's next? Let's take a look at what's coming. I think that that's something that we could work together on, Emiel. It's very timely and very topical.
Absolutely. And while we do that, let's listen to music at work.
All right. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
Good to see everybody.
Here we go. Back to the music. Thank you all. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.
Yeah.